Mrs. Wilson, and this is my final project. So the first concept that I'm going to be talking about is memory. And memory is important because this is pretty much who we are. How we remember things is everything. Memory is the total of what we remember. It's our ability to learn and adapt from different experiences and being able to organize the information to pull for later retrieval. It is active, subjective, and an intelligent reflection of our past experiences. And then it is also broken down into 3 different types. So we have our sensory memory, our short-term memory, which is also known as our working memory, and our long-term memory. So our sensory memory is simply just intaking that information, knowing that we're giving attention and attention is required to intake information or stimuli. And no matter what that is, whether it's conscious or unconscious, we are intaking information. And then whether we know it's conscious or unconscious, it goes into our working memory. And if it's conscious in our working memory, then we are consciously saying, okay, we need to keep this in our mind, or no, we don't need to keep that, or that's not important, this is important, or things that we're going to need to recall later in our life is what our short memory determines important. And then with that, we have our long-term memory, which is information that will be recalled later. And then with that, it's broken down into either declarative, which is explicit, or procedural, which is implicit. And then even further broken down, it can go into episodic and semantic, and then retrospective and prospective memory. Just to keep it broad, I'm just going to go over implicit and explicit. So implicit is procedural things, like learning how to ride a bike. You'll never forget it. You may struggle to get back on it, but you will essentially know how to do it. Or knowing how to drive home after driving there for 50 years. You know how to get there. There's times where you're driving at a day and you don't remember how you got there, but you know how to get there because it is a procedure. This has been shown in all people with Alzheimer's. They can remember certain things that they had done their entire life, but they struggle to do their basic everyday things like remembering to take their medicine, remembering who they are sometimes, you know? And then with explicit memory, that's intaking information from the outside world. So that would be like episodic memory or semantic memory, remembering things that happened at a specific time or words or things like that and organizing them in blocks or things like that. And then with that, I got the EIEIO model of memory. And this model was created by Camping colleagues in 1993. Sorry if my head is in the way of it, I didn't know. The EIEIO framework combines 2 different types of memory, which is explicit and implicit, and then 2 types of memory aids, which is internal and external. And the model pretty much organizes the different types of memory that can be combined with different types of memory aids to broaden prevention of forgetting things, because it happens. People forget things regardless of age. I mean, if we're younger, we think it's more naivety, if that's how you say it, and then with older people, we assume it's because of their age, but everyone forgets things, or as research hasn't been quite been able to determine whether we forget things or if it's just harder for us to retrieve them as we age. So with that, the memory aids are here to help you just to remember things, because why not? So for external aids, there are some that make it most effective, and that would be being chosen, giving a close time requirement that it's required, be active rather than passive, be specific to the particular action, It must be portable, fit a wide range of situations, store many cues for long periods, be easy to use, and not require a pen or a pencil. And then, so these include things like notebooks, diaries, address books, calendars, and notebooks, or things of that sort. And then internal are memory aids that rely on mental processes. So looking at this list, we know that external things that are explicit, which would be an appointment book or a grocery list, so we can physically go back and look and see specifically what it is that we needed. Or it can be internal and explicit, which is mental imagery, creating some type of association so you know what that is, or just repeating it to yourself over and over again. And then for for external, implicit will be color-coded maps or sandpaper letters. And then for internal, implicit would be space retrieval or conditioning, which is just if something happens this way, then this is going to happen this way, and you constantly do that. So you would say, like, if you're one to constantly lose your phone, a good way to stop losing your phone is to continue to put it in the same spot every time. So the way that this would be put into action in my career is that I plan to be an IO psychologist. And as far as I understand, IO is very similar to human resources, and from my understanding, human resources is dealing with your people in a company. And that's what I would like to do. I would like for people to be comfortable in whatever business or company that I choose to pursue my career in. And with that being said, I hope that my career does allow me to work with or for the aging population, because I do believe that the aging population is a population that is often looked over and assumed to be less competent than the younger population. And so I believe that the older population should continue to be treated the same, or given the same, or not given the same tools, but given tools to help them continue throughout their life cycle, no matter what age they are. And then also personally, in my career, I will be aging, and so will my colleagues. And so if I can create a procedure or a set of strategies or rules that can help them remember things and myself remember things, that would just be absolutely outstanding for me to know that I was able to help someone and myself. So with that, I'm going to try to create things throughout my company that will help people remember things, because it's important. It's a business. It's making money regardless of the people. I mean, the people are extremely important to me, but what I'm trying to say is that a business is going to look at the business. They're worried about their money. But for my job, I'm worried about the people of that company, because I believe without the people, there is no company, and those people need to be up to par. And that leads to my second concept, which is person-environment interactions. And to appreciate the role of different environments play in our lives, we need to understand how people interact with them. So the theories of person-environment helps us understand how people's views of their environment and how they change as we age. So the four components that affect that are competence in environmental press, which is the model that we will be looking at. Second, congruence. Third, stress and coping. And fourth, everyday competence. It is not, however, in that order. It is just the order that I put it in. All of them are contributing equally. So the competence environmental press model was introduced by Kurt Lewin. The environmental press theory is a theory of adaptation which focuses on persons' variables, environmental variables, and the interaction of those two. So basing it off of competence and environmental press, competence is the upper limit of someone's abilities, which is person's ability to function, and those are physical health, sensory perceptual skills, motor skills, cognitive skills, and ego strength. Most of these are affected by biological and psychological domains. or forces, I'm sorry. And then the environmental press refers to the physical, interpersonal, or social demands that environment puts on people. So, with that being said, put into action, I want to be working with people and making them comfortable. So in a working environment, I want to be able to get to know the people who are working for me or around me. I need to be able to make sure that the people who are working there are comfortable, because they will be spending a lot of their time there. If they're not at home, then they're probably at work. And so in the work environment, I need to know who has high competence and who has low competence. That doesn't mean that they're better than the other. That just means that one could withstand a lot more pressure from the environment than another one can. And that's fine. That just lets me know who I need to challenge and who I need to step back and take my time with. And seeing those people who like need the challenge, if I see that like someone's possibly slacking off, it would give me instantly I would know whether they're not being challenged enough or they're being so challenged that they are struggling. And that's pretty much what this model is saying. So I know that I need to be able to meet my people in the middle, and I think that's exactly what this model shows me, and I think that will definitely help me in my career, because there's some times where I feel like I have high competence and I feel like people around me should be up there, but that's not always how it's going to be. And I feel like this model definitely kind of made me more humble and understanding of how people operate, because everyone is different, and I need to be able to respect that, especially going into my career as an IO psychologist, because I will be dealing with different personalities, different temperaments, and all things that make individuals different and make them individuals. Yes.